Hello everyone and welcome back to This Week in Racing. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is the world's greatest endurance race, and this year for the 90th running, 62 cars will line up to take the green flag, and in this video we're going over the cars and who will be driving them. So throughout this video, pick your favorite and see how well they do come race day. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you stay notified for news across the world of auto racing. Now, let's get back to the video. This year, Toyota Gazoo Racing is going for 5 consecutive Le Mans wins, with Kobayashi, Lopez, and Conway lining up in the number 7 GR010 and in the number 8 Ryo Hirakawa, Sebastian Buemi, and Brendan Hartley. Hirakawa is replacing longtime Toyota driver Kazuki Nakajima. On to the next 2 hypercars. Alpine Elf Matmut is making its final Le Mans start in its grandfather LMP1, with 2 Frenchmen and a Brazilian driving, Lapierre, Vexivier, and Negrão. And Glickenhaus's full-season car, driven by Olivier Pla, Romain Dumas, and Pippo Derani, is up next. Can this team knock Toyota off the top step of the podium? The number 709 Glickenhaus is the 5th and final hypercar in the class, driven by Ryan Briscoe, Richard Westbrook, and Franck Maillot. In LMP2, Richard Mille Racing has a completely refreshed lineup from last year, with the all-French crew of Charles Malézy, Sébastien Ogier, and Lilo Wadu. DKR Engineering is making its debut in LMP2 after securing the ELMS LMP3 title last year with Laurence Heur, Jean Glorieux, and Alexandre Cougnot. Team Penske is competing in its 3rd and final LMP2 race at Le Mans as it prepares for the Porsche LMDH program next year. Cars driven by Dane Cameron, Felipe Nasser, and Emmanuel Collard. Robert Kubica is going for Le Mans revenge with the Prema team alongside Louis Delatraz and Lorenzo Colombo in the 9 car. Silverstone-based team Vector Sport is making its first appearance at Le Mans with Sebastian Bourdais, Ryan Cullen, and Nico Muller. TDS Racing is making its first appearance at Le Mans since 2019 along with Vaillant, who hasn't been at Le Mans since 2017. The car is driven by Philippe Simadomo, Matthias Besch, and Tijmen van der Helm. United Auto Sports is back to 2 cars, with the 22 being driven by Felipe Albuquerque, Phil Hansen, and Will Owen. And in the 23, Alex Lynn and Oliver Jarvis will line up alongside 16-year-old Le Mans rookie Josh Pearson, who won 2 Asian Le Mans Series races for the team back in February. Nielsen Racing is sporting a beautiful Mexican heritage livery, an idea proposed by driver Rodrigo Salas. Accompanying him in the number 24 are Brits Ben Hanley and Matt Bell. CD Sport is the only Ligier JSP 217 in the LMP2 field, driven by Christoph Cresp, Michael Jensen, and Stephen Paulette. Then there's the first of the Jota cars, driven by Oliver Rasmussen, Jonathan Aberdine, and Ed Jones. Then there's the number 30 Duquesne entry from the ELMS, the car being driven by Memo Rojas, Richard Bradley, and Rashad Dejaru. Watch for these 2 cars working through the field on race day. WRT has added a 2nd car for its Le Mans effort, alongside its number 41 Real Team car. The number 31 is driven by Sean Galeo, Rene Rast, and Robin Freins, and the 32 is driven by the GT Racing powerhouse team of Rolf Eichen, Mirko Bortolotti, and Dries Vanthoor. Inter-Europol competition has expanded to 2 cars for this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. The 34 is driven by Jacob Schmieszowski, Alex Brundle, and Esteban Gutierrez. After finishing 3rd in last year's ELMS, Ultimate is making its Le Mans debut with Mathieu Lahaye, his brother Jean-Baptiste Lahaye, and Francois Heriau. Cool Racing is making its return to Le Mans. Lier, who came so close to winning Le Mans last year, Ricky Taylor, and Nicholas Cruton completing the driving squad for the 37. And then there's the number 38 Jota car, driven by Antonio Felix da Costa, Will Stevens, and Roberto Gonzalez. Watch out for these guys on the start. Graf is returning to Le Mans with its Asian Le Mans Series lineup of Eric Trullier, Sebastian Page, and David Drew. Then there's the 3rd WRT car, and that's the Real Team car driven by Norman Nato, Ferdinand Habsburg, and Rui Andrade. WRT could be a force to be reckoned with come race day. Next up is Inter-Europol Competition's number 43 ELMS entry, driven by David Hannemeyer Hansen, Fabio Scherer, and Pietro Fittipaldi. ARC Bratislava is sporting a new livery and a new driver lineup, with Ben Pascal and Tristan Vautier joining Miro Konopka in the number 44 car. After G-Drive Racing's withdrawal from the WEC, Algarve Pro Racing took up their WEC slot and their Le Mans invites. The full season number 45 is driven by James Allen, Stephen Thomas, and Rene Binder. And its ELMS entry has also made it with Sophia Flourish, John Falb, and Jack Aitken driving the number 47. IDEX Sport is returning this year, this time with just one car, driven by the all-French lineup of Patrick Pilet, Paul-Loup Chatin, and Paul Laforgue. Pandus Racing is returning to Le Mans after taking its first ELMS win in Monza last year with Julien Canal, Eutert, and Nicolas Jamin driving the number 65 Orica. And last but not least in LMP2 are the defending GTE AM champions AF Corsa, Francois Perotto, Alessio Rivera, and Nicholas Nielsen. AF Corsa is also making their return to Le Mans as defending champions in GTE Pro, with Daniel Serra joining Alessandro Pierguidi and James Collado in the 51, and Miguel Molina joining Antonio Fuoco and Davide Rigon in the 52 car. But if Ferrari wants to win again this year, they're going to have to deal with Corvette, who stepped up to full season with one car in the WEC this year. The Le Mans one-off entry number 63 is driven by Antonio Garcia, Jordan Taylor, and Nicky Katzberg. And in the full season number 64, Alexander Sims joins Tommy Milner and Nick Tandy. Corvette, however, is the only American team racing in GTE Pro, as Riley Motorsports made the trek from Florida, the number 74 being driven by Sam Bird, Felipe Fraga, and supercar star Shane Van Gisbergen. Then there's the first of the Porsches, the number 91, driven by Jimmy Bruni, Richard Leitz, and Fred Macavecchi. The last car in GTE Pro is the 92 Porsche, driven by Michael Christensen, Kevin Estra, and being joined this weekend at Le Mans by Dries Vanthoor's brother, Lawrence. Moving on to GTE AM, we have the number 21 AF Corsa Ferrari, driven by Simon Mann, Christoph Ulrich, and Tony Wielander. Then there's the number 33 TF Sport Aston Martin, driven by Ben Keating, Enrique Chavez, and Marco Sorensen. This car is one of only 3 Aston Martins in the entire Le Mans field. Then we come to the first of the Team Project 1 cars, the number 46, driven by Matteo Cairoli, Mikko Pedersen, and Nicholas Luttweiler. Then we have the number 54 AF Corsa Ferrari, driven by Nick Cassidy, Thomas Floor, and Francesco Castellacci. You can never count out AF Corsa in the GTE AM fight. Next up, we have Spirit of Race's ELMS entry, driven by Duncan Cameron, Matthew Griffin, and David Parrell. Then we have the Inception Racing-backed Team Project 1 entry, driven by Brendan Arieb, Ollie Milroy, and Ben Barnicoat. Inception Racing is also backing Garage 59's entry. Next up, we have the Car Guy machine, the Kessel Racing car, driven by Takeshi Kimura, Frederick Schandorf, and Mikkel Jensen. Then we have the Inception Racing-backed Garage 59 entry. The number 59 Ferrari is driven by Alexander West, Combe Ledegar, and Marvin Klein. But we're not done yet with Ferrari, as we come to 2 more. Next is the first of 4 Iron Lynx Ferraris, the number 60 driven by Claudio Schiavone, Alessandro Balzan, and Raffaele Giammaria. Then we have the number 61 AF Corsa car driven by Louis Pret, Conrad Grunwald, and Vincent Abril. This, in my opinion, is the best colored Ferrari in the field. Then we have JMW Motorsport and their number 66 Ferrari driven by IMSA star Renger van der Zande, Mark Kwame, and Jason Hart. Now we have arrived at Spirit of Race's full season entry, driven by Frank Desauteur, Pierre Ragg, and Gabriel Aubry. And we're not done with Ferraris just yet, as there's the second Iron Lynx car, the number 75, driven by Pierre Erret, Nicolas Varone, and Christian Hook. Then we have WEC's constant team, Dempsey Proton Racing's number 77, driven by Christian Reed, Seb Prio, and Harry Tinknell. Reed has competed in every single race since the inception of the WEC back in 2012. WeatherTech Racing did not make the last-minute switch to GTE Pro like they did last year, staying in AM with Julian Andlauer, Cooper McNeil, and Thomas Merrill driving the number 79. Then we have the number 80 Iron Lynx Ferrari driven by Matteo Cressoni, Giancarlo Fisichella, and Richard Heistand. Then we come to the final Iron Lynx car, the number 85 Iron Dames entry, driven by the only all-female lineup in the field of Rahel Fry, Michelle Gatting, and Sarah Bovey. Then we have the second Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche, driven by Porsche Junior superstar Maxwell Root, Fred Pordad, and Jan Halen. And then we have the sister team Proton Competition, with Michael Fassbender, Matt Campbell, and Zachary Robichon driving the number 93 Porsche 911 RSR. Coming to the last 3 cars in the field, we have the Northwest AMR number 98, driven by Paul Dallalana, David Pittard, and Nicky Thiem. Then we have the number 98.9 Hardpoint entry. It's really just an absolute racing entry driven by Alessio Picariello, the only Estonian driver in the field, Martin Rump, and Andrew Haryanto. Hardpoint couldn't make it to the race, so Proton gave the entry to Absolute Racing, but it still has to run under the Hardpoint name. And then the final car in the field, the 777 D-Station Racing Aston Martin, driven by Satoshi Yoshino, Tomonori Fuji, and Charlie Fagg. That's every single car in this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans in numerical order by class. Let's see where these cars will line up after qualifying and going into the race. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and make sure to join the official This Week in Racing Discord server down below. Our first goal is 50 subscribers, starting small so we can conquer the crazy world that is the YouTube algorithm. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.